Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien universe. The jungle moon was hot, silent, and full of broken ships. Human scavenger. Derek walked slowly through the trees, his boots sinking into the soft mud. He followed a smoke trail. Something had crashed last night, something big. He could smell. Burnt metal in the air, his scanner beeped. Life signs. Could be a survivor. Or a trap, he muttered. He kept his hand close to his sidearm and pushed through the thick vines until he saw the wreckage. A silver alien pleasure cruiser, split in two, smoking, and dead silent. Derek stepped inside the half-open door. The ship's lights flickered weakly. The inside smelled like perfume, blood, and fire. Strange alien furniture was tossed around. The walls were gold-trimmed like some luxury palace. Then he heard a soft sound, chains. He turned sharply, aiming his flashlight. In the corner of the broken room, something moved. A girl, alien, slender, kneeling on the floor, her arms chained above. Her head bowed. Her skin was light violet. Her long white hair was dirty, falling over her face. She didn't look up. She didn't speak, but her body trembled. Derek stepped closer. "Hey, are you okay?" No response. He knelt slowly and spoke again, softer this time. "I'm not here to hurt you." The girl still didn't look at him. Her lips moved. Just one word. "Command?" Derek blinked. "What?" She repeated it. "Your command, master?" He felt a cold wave in his chest. She thought he was her new owner. "Whoa, no. I'm not your master," he said. "I'm just a guy. I came because I saw the crash." He looked at her chains. Strong alien metal. A shock collar glowed around her neck. He reached into his toolkit and pulled out a plasma cutter. She flinched hard. "Please don't punish me," she whispered. Derek's heart sank. "I'm not going to punish you. I'm going to get you out." She didn't move. She just closed her eyes near it like she was ready to die. The cutter sparked. It took him 10 minutes to break the locks. When the chains fell, the girl collapsed onto the floor. She didn't run. She didn't even try to stand. She just stayed there, breathing. Derek placed his jacket over her shoulders. "You're free." Now she didn't understand. He carried her back to his rover. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. She didn't fight him. She didn't speak again. She just rested her head against his chest like a broken doll. Back at his cabin, Derek laid her down on a soft bed. The small shelter was warm and quiet, built with old tech and love. He brought her food and water. She stared at the plate like it was a test. "You can eat," he said. "No rules here. No punishment." She picked up the food slowly. Her hands shook. He turned away to give her space. She finished every bite. That night, she curled up in the corner of the room. Not the bed. Derek gave her a blanket and sat nearby, not too close. "What's your name?" he asked. She looked up with wide, scared eyes. "Kayla." He nodded. "I'm Derek." She nodded once and lowered her head again. Hours passed. Outside, the wind blew softly through the trees. Inside, Derek watched over her while she slept. If she slept at all, she whispered in her sleep. Small words. "Don't send me back. Don't let them touch me. Please." Derek clenched his fists. Whoever had owned this girl, they hadn't just hurt her body. They broke her soul. He didn't know why she had survived the crash. He didn't know where she came from, or how long she had been enslaved. But one thing was clear. She needed safety. And for now, he would be that safety. Not her master. Not her rescuer. Just a human trying to do what was right. And deep inside Kayla's mind, where years of commands had buried her true self, a small flicker of something new began to glow. The morning light crept through the small windows of Derek's cabin. Warm, golden rays touched the floor and reached the corner where Kayla had curled up the night before. She woke suddenly, eyes wide. No alarms. No shouting. No cold metal floor. She was still in the same soft place, wrapped in a real blanket. Her body didn't ache yet. She looked around, confused. Where was the command bell? Where was the voice telling her what to do? Her heart began to race. Was this a test? She heard footsteps and sat up straight. Derek entered, holding a tray of food. Bread. Fruit. Water. He smiled gently. Morning. Kayla looked down, too afraid to make eye contact. He placed the tray on a small table and took a step back. You can eat when you're ready. Still no command, no threat, just calm words. She blinked, then whispered, "Should I kneel first?" Derek looked confused. "No, you don't have to kneel, you don't have to do anything." Kayla's hands shook. She had never been told that before. Derek moved to the workbench across the room. He started repairing a circuit panel from one of the crashed ships. Kayla sat frozen for a long time. Then, quietly, she moved toward the table. She picked up a piece of fruit. The taste made her gasp. Real food, not nutrient paste, not pills, just food. She ate slowly, unsure if she would be punished. But nothing happened. No alarms. No pain. Just quiet. Hours passed. Kayla stood at the doorway watching the trees sway outside. The world was green and peaceful. Birds chirped, sunlight danced on the leaves. She didn't know what to do with her hands. Her whole life had been work, service, silence. Now, there was nothing to obey. It scared her. That evening, Derek returned from the forest carrying a bag of berries and metal scrap. His shirt was stained with sweat and dirt. Kayla quickly stepped back, lowering her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't clean anything, I didn't—" "Kayla," he said softly, "you're not a slave anymore." She looked up slowly. He dropped the bag and handed her a berry. "Here, taste it, just because you want to." She hesitated, then took it. It was sweet, soft. She smiled without meaning to. Derek grinned. "Told you, jungle berries are better than ration packs." Kayla looked down at her fingers. "I don't know how to live like this." "You'll learn," he said. "One choice at a time." Later that night, she walked slowly into the small kitchen and pointed at the stove. "Can I help cook?" Derek raised an eyebrow. "Only if you want to." She nodded. "I want to." They cooked together. It was awkward. She didn't know how to chop vegetables or stir sauce, but she smiled every time he said, "Good job." When she dropped a spoon and flinched, Derek gently said, "It's just a spoon, Kayla. Nobody gets punished here for a mistake." She looked at him like he was a miracle. That night, Derek offered her the bed again. Kayla hesitated. He stepped back. "Or the blanket corner, wherever you feel safe." She paused, then slowly walked to the bed. She sat on it, then laid down. For the first time in her life, no orders, no fear, no watchers. Fear, no, only silence and a pillow under her head. Her eyes filled with tears. In the middle of the night, Kayla woke to a nightmare. Cold hands grabbing her, a voice saying, "Obey." She gasped and sat up, her body shaking. Derek heard her from the other room. He walked in and sat nearby, not too close. "You okay?" he asked. Kayla looked at him, tears running down her cheeks. "I don't know how to be free." Derek spoke softly. "Then let's figure it out together." She looked at him for a long time. Then, for the first time ever, she reached out and took his hand. Not because he asked, because she chose to. Outside the cabin, the wind blew gently through the trees, but far above the planet, a satellite blinked. A red signal activated. Her collar had sent a final ping before deactivation, and someone had heard it. The days passed slowly. Quiet, peaceful, and almost normal. Almost. Kayla helped Derek with small chores now. She liked gathering herbs, cutting fruit, and even learning how to fix broken parts from old machines. Her hands weren't steady yet, but they were healing. Her eyes were softer, but her mind was not free yet. One morning, she stepped into the storage room to grab a blanket. The lights flickered, and a small speaker on the wall clicked. A deep, mechanical voice echoed. "Unit ready for command, awaiting protocol." Kayla froze. Her breath stopped. That voice. The same one used on the slave ship. Her knees gave out. She dropped to the floor, shaking, clutching her head. Her body went cold. She couldn't hear the jungle birds outside anymore. She couldn't feel the wooden floor. Only that voice, only the collar, only the past. Derek heard something crash and ran inside. "Kayla?" He found her curled in the corner, whispering the same words over and over. "I'll behave. I'll behave, please don't take me back." Derek rushed to her side. "It's okay, it's not real, it's just an old speaker, it's not connected to anything." She didn't respond, so he did the only thing he could. He gently wrapped his arms around her and stayed there, silent, strong, and present. After several minutes, she slowly began to breathe again. Her hands clutched his shirt. She didn't want to let go. That night, they sat outside on the porch. Kayla held a cup of tea in both hands, still shaking. "I thought I was getting better," she said quietly. "You are," Derek replied. "But pain like that doesn't leave in one day." She looked into the dark sky. "I still hear their voices in my dreams. I still flinch when things beep. Sometimes I forget I'm not in a cage anymore." Derek nodded. "And yet you still chose to get up today. That's strength." She looked down. "When I froze earlier, I felt like I was that slave again. Obedient, silent, afraid." Derek leaned closer. "You're not that anymore." Kayla looked at him. "But what am I?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked inside, grabbed something from a drawer, and came back. It was a small mirror. He handed it to her. She hesitated, then looked into it. "I see me," she whispered. "I see Kayla," Derek said. "A free woman, a survivor. Not what they made you, but what you're becoming." Her eyes filled with tears. The next day, Derek went to work dismantling old security systems still buried in the cabin walls. He tore out speakers, motion sensors, even an old ID scanner. He didn't want anything left that reminded her of her cage. Kayla watched from the doorway, clutching the fabric of her dress. "You're doing all this for me?" Derek smiled. "You're here. That's reason enough." That afternoon, Kayla touched her neck, still scarred from the collar. "I want it gone," she whispered. Derek turned. "It's already off." She shook her head. "Not just the device, the mark, the past." He walked to his workbench and picked up a tiny silver chain, simple, light, with a small stone hanging in the middle. "It's not much," he said, "but maybe this can take its place." He placed the necklace in her hand. She stared at it for a long time, then slowly wrapped it around her neck. Her hand trembled, but she smiled. That night, she slept without shaking. And for the first time, she dreamed not of cages, but of gardens. Far above the moon, a large ship slowly drifted into orbit. Inside, a pale alien noble stared at a glowing screen. A red dot blinked once, then disappeared. "She's alive," he whispered. "She thinks she can run." The man turned to a dark figure beside him. "Send the hunters, bring her back," the figure bowed. "And the human? Kill him." The morning air was quiet, but something inside Kayla's heart was not. She stood at the mirror, fingers running along the faint scar around her neck, the place where the control collar had once lived. Even though the metal was gone, she still felt its weight. It wasn't just around her neck. It was in her mind, in her bones, in the way she hesitated before speaking. Derek entered the room, wiping oil from his hands. "Hey," he said gently. "I fixed the water pipe. Finally." She didn't answer. He stepped closer. Everything all right? Kayla turned to him slowly. I want to do it. Do what? I want to destroy the collar. Derek blinked. It's already off. But it still lives, she whispered. Not in my body, but in my memory. I want to see it break. I want to be the one who ends it. Derek nodded slowly. Okay. He led her to the back of the cabin where the old fire pit stood. It was cold and unused for weeks. Kayla walked ahead of him holding a small metal box. Inside was the deactivated control collar, the same collar that shocked her when she disobeyed, that tracked her, silenced her, owned her. She knelt beside the pit and opened the box. For a moment she just stared at it. Her hands shook. She saw herself as she once was, kneeling, silent, controlled. Then she took a deep breath and tossed the collar into the fire pit. Derek struck a match and dropped it in. The flames rose, the collar sparked, hissed, then twisted and melted. Kayla watched it fall apart with wide eyes, and when it was nothing but melted metal and smoke, she smiled a real soft smile. That night she wore the necklace Derek gave her. It was light, simple, safe. Her neck finally felt hers. They sat outside under the stars. Kayla leaned her head on Derek's shoulder. You taught me to breathe again, she whispered. Derek chuckled softly. I didn't do much. You didn't touch me without asking. You didn't yell. You didn't look at me like property. He looked at her. You're not property, you're Kayla. She turned to him. I want to stay, she said. Not because I owe you, but because I choose to. Derek didn't say anything at first. Then he nodded. I'd be lucky to have you here. But not far away. Danger was already falling from the stars. On the edge of the jungle moon, a dark ship landed without a sound. From it stepped two alien hunters. Tall, masked, moving like shadows. Their scanners beeped. Target confirmed, one said. She's close. Less than 3 clicks east. The human? Extermination authorized. Back at the cabin, Derek locked up for the night. Kayla was already asleep in her bed, the soft necklace around her neck. He looked at her from the doorway. There was peace on her face now. He smiled to himself. But then he noticed something outside. A light. Faint and red, blinking through the trees. He frowned. That wasn't jungle fire. He grabbed his rifle and stepped onto the porch. At the same time, Kayla stirred. A chill passed through her chest. Something was wrong. The hunters moved closer, their heat scanners locked onto the cabin. One raised his weapon. The other whispered, "She will kneel again." Inside, Kayla sat up quickly. Her heart raced. She stepped outside and saw Derek standing with his gun raised, eyes fixed on the trees. She ran to him. "What's wrong?" "I saw something," he said. "Movement, not animal." Then, a flash. A red beam missed Derek's head by inches and struck the door behind him. He rolled, pulling Kayla down behind a barrel. The hunters stepped into view, slow and silent. Kayla's blood went cold. "I know them," she said. "They serve my owner." Derek looked at her. "Can you run?" Kayla didn't answer. She stood up slowly, her necklace glinting in the moonlight. No more running. She picked up a small EMP blaster from the tool bench. Derek blinked. "You sure?" She nodded. "I broke my collar this morning." She raised the blaster. "Now I break my chains." Smoke curled from the broken wall of the cabin. Derek reloaded his rifle with shaking hands. Kayla stood beside him, holding the EMP blaster tight. Her fingers trembled, but her eyes did not. They hid behind the workbench, breathing hard. Sparks flickered from the hit that nearly burned Derek's head off. Outside, the two alien hunters stepped through the trees, tall, masked, cold as machines. Their black armor reflected moonlight like sharp glass. Each step they took was silent, but heavy. One of them spoke in a low, harsh voice. "Return the property, and we won't burn this world." Kayla stood slowly, her heart pounding in her ears. "I'm not property," she said aloud. "Not anymore." The hunter tilted its head. "Your voice is not permitted." Derek stepped beside her, rifle aimed. "She doesn't need permission." The hunter raised its weapon. Boom! Derek fired first. The shot slammed into the hunter's chest, knocking it back. Kayla fired her EMP blast at the second. The explosion of blue light fried its shield, but it didn't fall. It raised its arm and fired back. The corner of the cabin blew apart. Kayla and Derek dove through the side door, landing hard in the dirt. Derek winced as he rolled, his arm bleeding again. He pulled Kayla up. To the shed. Backup weapons. They ran, dodging fire, sprinting across the open yard toward the old mining shed. Inside, Kayla slammed the door shut as Derek yanked open a metal chest. Inside, old mining grenades, a shield drone, and a power drill converted into a pulse cannon. "Your junk is starting to impress me," Kayla said, panting. "I told you I fix things," Derek replied. "Even fights." But before they could prepare, a deep sound filled the sky. The wind stopped. The trees bent. A second, much larger ship descended like a falling god. This one wasn't fast. It wasn't hiding. It wanted them to see it. As it landed, the ground shook. A ramp opened. And from the fire and shadows, he walked out, tall, pale, wearing flowing silver robes and glowing rings on his fingers. Kayla froze. Her skin went cold. "No," she whispered. "Not him." Derek looked at her. "Who is that?" She didn't blink. "My owner." The man stepped forward with a calm, proud smile. "Kayla, my favorite. You lasted longer than I expected." Kayla couldn't speak. Her mouth was dry. Her legs were shaking. But then she felt Derek's hand slide into hers. That warmth brought her back. She stood taller. "You will return to your place," the man said. "You will kneel. Or I will make." The human beg for death. Derek stepped forward. "You'll have to get through me first." The man's smile faded. "So be it." He raised a hand. The two hunters behind him moved like shadows. Derek tossed a grenade. Boom! One hunter was thrown into a tree. The other fired, hitting Derek's shoulder. He dropped to one knee. Kayla screamed. The owner raised his hand again, charging a cruel beam of red energy. "You were made to serve, girl, not to fight." Kayla stood in front of Derek, arms wide. "I was made to live." She fired her EMP at full power. The beam hit the owner's shield, shattering it. The force threw him backward into the side of his ship. She rushed to Derek and dragged him back toward the cabin. Inside, Derek coughed. "He's strong." Kayla knelt beside him. "So are we." He looked up at her. She didn't look like a servant anymore. She looked like a warrior. Outside, the owner stood again, his robes burned, his pride shattered. He stared at the cabin. "I gave her everything," he said to himself. "And that human took her from me." He raised both hands. A pulse cannon formed in the sky above his ship. Inside, Kayla saw it on the scanner. Derek looked at her. "We have one shot left." Kayla nodded. They activated the pulse cannon Derek had built. She held it while he aimed. With one hand, they stood side by side in the ruins of their home. "Now!" he shouted. Kayla pulled the trigger. A beam of blue energy shot across the field, piercing the pulse cannon above and hitting the owner in the chest. His body exploded. In light, silence followed. Just silence. Smoke settled. Kayla dropped the cannon and fell beside Derek. "Are you okay?" she asked, tears falling. He grinned through blood. "Still breathing. That counts." She hugged him tightly, her whole body shaking. "He's gone," she whispered. "He's really gone," Derek whispered back. "You did that, you." Outside, the red ship began to break down. No commands left to follow. Kayla walked out into the moonlight. She looked at the stars and whispered, "I am mine now." The fire was out, but the danger wasn't. Derek leaned against the broken wall of the cabin, holding his bleeding arm. His face was pale, sweat on his forehead, but his eyes stayed on Kayla. She stood at the doorway, rifle in hand, scanning the trees. The red ship had stopped firing, but something inside them both knew. This wasn't over. "I need you to go," Derek said, voice low. Kayla turned sharply. "What? You heard me. Get on the rover, head to the ridge. There's a mining station 2 miles out." "No." He tried to sit up straighter. "Kayla, no," she said louder this time. "You didn't run when I needed you. You—" Stood up to them. "You got shot for me." She stepped closer. "Now I stand for you." The scanner on the table buzzed again. One heat signal, moving fast, straight toward them. Kyla's breath caught. "One more?" Derek checked the screen. "No. Him. Somehow he's still alive." Kayla clenched her fists. "I'm finishing this." Derek reached for her hand, weak but determined. "He's not like the others. He doesn't feel fear. Doesn't—" "Stop." Kayla looked down at him. "I used to be afraid every minute of every day," she said, "but I'm not anymore." She kissed his forehead gently. "You gave me that." Then she turned toward the trees. From the jungle, the alien noble, her former master, limped through the smoke. His silver robe was torn. His face burned. One eye glowed red from implants. But his pride was still untouched. "You think you've won?" he shouted into the clearing. "I built you. I made you beautiful. I can unmake you." Kayla stepped forward from the porch. "No, you made a slave." She raised her rifle. "But I made a warrior." He fired first. A red blast scorched the ground beside her. She dodged left, rolled, and returned fire, her shot hitting him in the shoulder. He growled and threw a plasma blade toward her. She ducked just in time, but he was fast, too fast. He reached her, grabbed her arm, and slammed her into the dirt. "You think this human life means you're free?" he hissed. "You are nothing. Without me." Kayla, bruised but not broken, looked up. "No, I am everything without you." She kicked him back, rolled, grabbed the plasma blade, and stabbed it through his leg. He screamed. In the distance, Derek struggled to stand. His vision blurred, but he saw them fighting, Kayla and the monster from her past. He grabbed his rifle, slung it over his shoulder, and started limping toward them. Kayla was on one knee now. The noble charged her again. She blocked with her arm. It cracked. She screamed, but didn't fall. He raised his hand to strike her down, and then a shot rang out. Bang! The noble stumbled back, hit in the chest. Derek stood behind Kayla, rifle, smoking. "I told you, nobody touches her again," he said through clenched teeth. The noble fell to one knee. "Why fight so hard? For her?" he gasped. Derek looked at Kayla, then back at the creature. "Because she's more human than you ever were." Kayla stood, broken arm hanging but heart burning. She walked to the noble, looked down at him one last time. He whispered, "Please, I can make you powerful again." She stared into his dying eyes. "I already am." She raised her foot and crushed the last piece of the control device still glowing on his belt. The light went out. He went still, and the nightmare finally ended. Kayla fell beside Derek. They both laughed, weak, bleeding, bruised, but free. "You okay?" she whispered. Derek smiled. "I'll live if you stay." She held his hand tight. "Then you'll live forever." The trees stood quiet again. The wind blew soft again, and for the first time, Kayla didn't feel like a runaway. She felt like a protector. The sun rose slowly over the jungle moon. Its soft light touched broken metal, cracked stone, and blood-stained soil. But through that quiet ruin, something new was growing. Life. Kayla sat outside the cabin, wrapped in a fresh blanket. Her arm was bandaged, her lip still bruised. But she smiled, not because the pain was gone, but because she had survived it. Inside the cabin, Derek lay in bed, sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. His wound had been cleaned, his ribs wrapped. Kayla had stayed by his side all night, watching his chest rise and fall like waves. Now for the first time, she let herself exhale. The past had come for her, and she had faced it. Later, Derek woke up to the smell of food, real food. Kayla stood over a small stove, frying bread and fruit together in a pan. He blinked. Did I die and wake up in paradise? Kayla turned, smiling shyly. You're not allowed to die. I didn't give permission. He laughed. Yes, ma'am. She placed a plate in front of him and sat beside the bed. I'm not good at cooking yet, she said. But I wanted to try. He took a bite and nodded. Tastes like freedom. She blushed. I don't know what a wife is supposed to do, but I want to learn. Derek looked at her. You don't have to be anything except who you are. That evening, Kayla stood in front of the mirror. No collar, no chains, just a silver necklace with a small metal ring Derek had crafted from the wreckage of the enemy's ship. She touched it gently. She had once worn metal that owned her. Now she wore a symbol of her choice. A few days later, they stood under the stars. No priest, no crowd, no ceremony, just them. And the universe watching. Kayla held a small cloth in her hand, woven from the pieces of the dress she once wore as a slave. She tied it around Derek's wrist. To remind you, she said, that you saved me without trying to own me. Derek pulled a tiny ring from his pocket. It was plain, light, human. He slid it onto her finger. To remind you, he said, that you saved yourself. I just believed you could. They didn't kiss with fireworks. They just held each other, close. And that was enough. Weeks passed. The cabin was rebuilt, stronger than before. Kayla planted flowers where the collar had first fallen. They bloomed blue under the moonlight. She walked without fear now. She laughed more. Sometimes she would touch her scar and smile, not because she forgot the pain, but because she had risen above it. One evening, Kayla stood at the edge of the porch, staring up at the sky. Derek came out and placed a hand on her shoulder. You thinking of going back? He asked. She shook her head. No. I'm thinking of how far I've come. She looked at him. I was made to please, made to obey, trained to be silent. She touched the necklace. But now, I'm loved. I'm heard. I'm free. Derek smiled. And you're home. The stars above blinked softly. Somewhere far away, a signal went quiet. The last tracker deactivated. Her past, completely gone. And on a quiet moon, where two souls had once been broken, they built something whole. Not with money, not with power, but with kindness and choice.